Now, in order to play the piano most effectively, it's a good idea to learn to read music. And that's learning to understand those dots and circles that are written on 5 horizontal lines. There are 2 sets of 5 horizontal lines for piano music. One set goes at the top and one set goes at the bottom. Now, a dot and a circle, they're the notes. And they can be written either on top of a line, so the line goes through the note, or it can be written in the space in between the lines. And every single one of those lines or spaces represents one of the white notes on the piano. So we can find any white note on the piano if we know how to read music. Now, the middle C note is not played on either set of 5 lines. It's actually played in between the 2 sets of 5 lines. So if we're using our right hand, that will be the top set of 5 lines, and the middle C is written underneath that set of 5 lines with a line through it itself. And the symbol that goes with the set of 5 lines at the top is the treble clef, and that generally means we're playing with the right hand and playing notes above middle C, so going to the right. And then the middle C is written above the bottom set of 5 lines, and in that bottom set of 5 lines is the bass clef symbol, and the bass clef symbol means that we're generally playing our notes from middle C down the piano. So middle C is above those 5 lines with its own line through it, and then the rest of the notes go down from middle C. And now we know that middle C is written below the treble clef staff, those 5 lines, and above the bass clef staff, and it actually sits right in the middle of the stave, which is both sets of lines written together. We can find all the notes going right or left from middle C. So D, the next note up in the right hand, in the treble clef, sits on the space above the middle C. So middle C is on its own line. D is in the space between that line and the first of those 5 lines of the treble clef staff. So we have D, which hangs underneath the treble clef staff. And then similarly going down, getting lower, we have the middle C sitting above the bass clef staff. And then going down, the B is in the space between the middle C line and the top of the bass clef staff, the top line, and it basically sits on top of the bass clef staff. And then when we've learnt how middle C is written and how D is written hanging underneath the treble clef staff, and where B is written sitting on top of the bass clef staff, we can then get into the notes that are written on the lines and spaces of the stave, so all 10 lines together. We can learn those notes, and there's a little trick for learning those. So we'll start with the treble clef. The bottom line of the treble clef is actually an E, and the next line we actually miss a note because the next note is the space above that line, so we actually jump a note and we go to the next note along. So we have E is the bottom line, G is the next line up, B is the middle line all the way up here, then we have another jump to a D on the 4th line, and the top line is an F, and E, G, B, D, F. We're going to make an acronym or an acrostic for those 5 letters, and that is every green bus drives fast. Every green bus drives fast. And then we can learn the notes that are in the spaces on the treble clef staff. So the first space is the note above E, which is the first line. So the first space is F. And our next space up is past the note G, because that's on the line. So we go to the A. Our next space up is again past the B, which is the middle line. So we go to the space above that, which is the C, which is another C. And notice we've got the 2 black notes and C. And then we go past the next line and we have E in the top space. So the space notes of the treble clef is F, A, C, E. And those letters spell face, and face rhymes with space. So for the space notes in the treble clef, we use the acronym FACE. We can then do the same thing in the bass clef. It's a little bit trickier because we start at the bottom and work up. So we go into notes that we really haven't seen yet. So just learning these, the line notes for the bass clef starts all the way down here. So we've got the middle C, the C below middle C, and then we start on the G down here. And we have good boys deserve fresh apples. G, B, D, F, A. And in the spaces for there, we start at the A above G, because the space is above that bottom line. We have the A, and it's all cows eat grass. So the bass clef lines: good boys deserve fresh apples. And for the space notes for the bass clef, all cows eat grass. And all of this information is written onto the music notes sheet that goes along with this lesson.